Flair, the show where we talk about all the crazy jobs we do to make the cash we need to pursue our artistic dreams.
And to single-handedly keep California's microbreweries in business.
Touche. We are talking about the complaint department detail or the Tgi Fridays affair, and let's not forget the old carny craft. We are your hosts, Jaime Parker Stickle.
And I'm Jason Bieber.
And on this episode, we are talking to a writer who has the unique ability to crawl into your subconscious and wreak havoc on your deepest fears. No, I am not talking about our son.
He's the author of I'm Not Even Supposed to Be Here Today from Eraserhead Press and Man, Fuck This House, Nunchuck City, and Jailbroke from Mutated Media.
And his comics and Tales of Horrorgasm are now being turned into a film.
I'm really glad we're talking to him the week of Halloween.
Bieber, you couldn't handle him any other week of the year. Please welcome to the show, the spooktacular Brian Asman.
Yeah.
Woo!
Thank you, Jamie. Jason, I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, he could host this show.
Yeah, it's all yours, bro. Take it from here.
Hey, it's Brian in the morning with the Morning Zoo crew.
Oh, shit, it's going to be that show.
It's going to be that show.
Yeah.
We could do a Lost Connections bit, I feel like.
Yeah.
Brian?
Should we do like a War of the Roses?
Some more of the roses. This is real morning radio, dude.
Yeah.
And you've got morning radio voice.
Yeah. We're gonna go to our traffic copter in a second.
Yeah.
Before we go to the traffic copter, I just want to say that I've known Brian for almost 4 years now, and that blows my mind. And in the 4 years that I've known him, he's written more books than I have in my entire life.
Well, it's not a competition.
It's not a competition, but he has a full-time job, and yet he puts out books every 6 months to a year. Like, it's redonkulous.
Is the secret, are you just doing like automatic writing? Like you close your eyes and just let the pen do its thing, or?
It's more just cocaine.
Cocaine.
Lots and lots of
We've heard that before.
Yep.
And also, have you read my books? They're not good. They don't make any sense. They just ramble. Like
He said that. I have read two. And I will say this, they're awesome. And plus I've read some short stories of Brian's, but he's lying. These are well-crafted books. And he is, he's spectacular at not needing an editor. He is an editor. I've just not ever seen a sentence crafted so well and be grammatically correct at the same time without a piece being edited.
Thank you. But, my stuff is edited. The editor that I use.
We just assumed no one was editing it because it's such garbage.
I just assume.
Well, I mean, the stuff that you read in workshop at UCR was self-edited, but
yes.
All my books. Max Booth III, who's also a really great writer himself, and he just had a film come out through IFC called "We Need to Do Something." So he edits all my books.
That's amazing, and he's also your hype man. That's
he's also my hype man.
Which is awesome.
Everyone needs a good hype man.
Everybody.
Yeah. So I'm not I'm not able just to kind of write books without needing editing services as well. But
I'm glad to know that.
I wish I could.
I mean, I'm glad to know that because I'm like, shit, I need an editor for everything.
I'm just glad we could bring you back down to earth.
All right. Before we go any further, Brian does have a current real job. But before we talk about that one, I sort of want to talk about a couple of the things he told us you would talk about. Jason goes, can I refer to him as a carny based on some of this? And I was like, if you don't, let's talk about your carny service.
Talk about your carny days.
Yeah, I mean, well, I take that as a compliment, but my only thing is if an actual carny is listening to this, they might be like, oh, that dude's a fucking poser. But no, I used to operate a carousel way back when. This is back when I still lived in Virginia. I'm in San Diego now, but I worked
and
at
the carousel operators, by the way, are historically looked down upon by the other carny folk.
Well, especially, the ones, yes, by the roller coaster folk, they're like, you've got shit to do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like the tilt-a-whirl, that requires actual maintenance. The carousel just goes around and around and around, right? Mm-hmm. And it's pretty easy to rescue someone from a carousel versus if you get stuck on a Ferris wheel, that takes some doing.
No
ladders.
I didn't even
think about that.
No ladders.
Yeah.
I
Call
do.
The Rock or something. That would make a great action movie, actually. Just something with like a carousel that's been taken over by terrorists.
Oh my
They're actually like,
no,
they're
that
actually
did, there
like
was.
robbers. They're there to rob the carnival, but
Didn't
they're
that
disguised as terrorists.
But that happened in Shazam, and it happened in the latest Spider-Man.
Those two, no, that's not the carousel. That was
No, that's the
Ferris wheel.
Not the carousel.
The carousel was in what's the TV show? The Punisher. Punisher
Oh, the
TV show.
Punisher.
Oh, the Punisher.
They
yeah.
did do a carousel,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the carousel wasn't like out of control or anything. There was just a sniper picking people off the carousel.
But
Which they stole from Face Off, by the way.
True.
Oh,
Yep.
that's right. But your carousel was probably stationary. It was there all year.
And sniper free.
Yeah, it was. Well, and actually, it's kind of funny because Face Off was what actually got me into wanting to work at a carousel.
Thank goodness.
But yeah. So it was stationary. It was at this park that was near my house, and so I got a job just working the carousel, and it was a very intense job. Every time someone wanted to go on the carousel, I had to like walk over and flip a switch, and then after about 3 minutes of timing it, I had to like turn the switch off.
Jesus.
Wow.
I
it was
up.
brutal. I mean, talk about the salt mines, right?
Did you wait? Was this a job that provided benefits?
I mean, the benefits were working at a carousel. So I got a lot of free carousel rides.
Did you take dates for free carousel rides?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. I'd have my friends up too, because it was also in the woods. And
oh my God.
Some days we get like no clientele whatsoever.
Because it's in the middle of the woods in Virginia.
Yeah. So my friends would come up and we just ride the carousel and like smoke weed and just ride around in a circle and like listen to like DMX and stuff, because it was the late 90s.
Right. And this is where all of Brian's book ideas came from. It's all making sense now.
I really love the idea of being on a carousel and instead of hearing that like organ music, hearing DMX.
X gonna give it to you. He gonna give it to you. X gonna give it to you.
But the carousel doesn't go any faster. You're still going on a slow, circular up and down.
Oh,
I'm gonna make you rotate slow. Up in here, up in here.
Yeah. Were you able to adjust the speed on the carousel, or was it just one speed?
Well, we tried, and that's when they started putting a lock on the engine compartment, and they didn't give me the key. So, yeah. Right. So unfortunately, we couldn't adjust the speed. But the one exciting thing about working at the carousel was it ended up allowing me to make my first film of my life.
Oh.
Yeah.
It inspired it or allowed it?
Well, it was the location where I filmed, so it directly contributed to me being able to make the first film I ever made. But it was a film called Carousel.
And
Go figure. Brace yourself for this, right?
Okay.
Brace yourself. It's about a guy who's in his early 20s and he works at a carousel, right? And basically his life is going nowhere. His life is going.
I feel that
in a circle, like the animals on the carousel.
Did you win awards? Did you win any awards?
No, but I didn't get sued by Blink-182 for using their music in the movie, so that was cool.
Oh my God.
I had no idea what fucking ASCAP was at the time, so like, it's also not available anywhere but on a VHS tape in my closet.
In your parents' house. It reminds me, I mean, it just, the metaphor of that is so great because in college, my first play, well, it wasn't my first play, but it was my first like serious play I wrote. And the theater department really liked it. And it was a short play. And it was about a box of Captain Crunch cereal. And the berry and the crunch, they were fighting who was going to get poured and killed and drowned in a bowl of milk. And finally, the berry was like, I can't take this shit anymore. And just jumped out of the box and committed suicide. So it was
This is awesome. Can we stage this?
Yeah, and they did. My teacher liked it so much that he was like, he got some of the other actors in the department to put it on for me. And I was like, wow.
Oh my God.
The costume budget was insane.
That is awesome.
They built a 40-foot tall replica of a Captain Crunch box.
Oh my God. That's
don't even
awesome.
remember like where my head was. I was probably like starving when I wrote this, and it was due the next day, and all there was in the pantry was Captain Crunch cereal, and I was like,
Now,
let's just write about suicide.
I also once wrote a Captain Crunch piece. This is no bullshit. I once wrote a Captain Crunch piece. It wasn't about suicide. It did end up in a divorce. But yeah, Captain Crunch has been the crux of one of my pieces as well.
That's so strange.
yeah.
How have we not known this?
I didn't consider it one of my great works.
I didn't consider it one of my great works, but I'll never forget how like moved the teacher of my playwriting class was. And I was like, well, should I tell him? Like, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like really fast. And I was like hungry. Like I just couldn't, and he made such a big deal out of it. And he like had other acting students like rehearse it and perform it. And we went into the little oval playing stage. And I was like, wow, he's really taking my piece seriously. I guess I shouldn't say anything. I was like so worried that he'd find out I was a joke.
You're a fraud.
I'm a fraud.
That is amazing.
Fraud.
I think if I was a teacher and I ever had any student half-ass something, the best punishment I could give them
Is this?
Is just to like take it so seriously and just make them feel like their half-assery is the best thing that's ever been done until the very, very end, and then turn on them and go, no, I'm not fucking serious.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what he was doing? Maybe that's what he was doing the whole time. Fuck you guys.
You goddamn stoners.
I mean, wow, you guys.
Suicide? Really, Stickle? Really?
Asman just made me really bring up some dark stuff.
That was dark.
I mean, there's
No.
darkness to be found everywhere, right? Even in a
Right.
box of cereal. I mean, cereal commercials themselves are like pretty fucked. Like, what the fuck is up with the Trix Rabbit? I know I'm doing like
I
an
don't know.
Aziz Ansari bit right now, but
But you're go ahead. But it's true.
it's just dark, man. It's
Who's
like
the one
his
that's-
cereal,
it's
and
his-
kids
he's not
won't
allowed to
fucking,
eat.
you know.
Yeah,
Silly
no.
Rabbit Twix are for kids. It's so exclusionary and like gross. Like even
Oh.
as a kid, it made me fucking angry. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, fuck these kids, fuck these little monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Let the rabbit have his tricks.
Yeah, it's
Or
bizarre.
Cookie Crisp glorifying robbery.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
No, you
I
know
mean,
that was
you're-
actually a wizard originally, right? There was the Cookie Crisp wizard, and
Oh.
then they like in the '80s, like I think because of the crack cocaine epidemic, they turned him into like a robber.
Are you kidding
Wow.
me? I'm gonna look that up. I
No, it
literally
really
always
was a
remembered as the
wizard.
Reverend.
Huh.
Oh my God. I mean, we're
Yeah.
all the same age. How do I not remember this?
I have no awareness
Oh,
of this.
it predates us. It was in the '70s, I think, when when Cookie
why.
Crisp had a wizard.
Okay, I'm gonna go look it up.
I'm actually wondering, like, and I'm not joking when I say this. I'm wondering if like the kind of '70s like D&D panic about like kids offing themselves because like their elf was eaten by orcs. I wonder if
What?
that's why they got away from like using a wizard as a mascot.
That was a thing people were doing in the 70s.
That's the thing people were afraid of. It's kind of like it predated the satanic panic a little bit. It was everyone was
Wow.
panicking that D&D was satanic and
And
yada
then we
yada.
got the 80s and AIDS happened. So our parents switched everything to AIDS.
Yeah,
And that was
all of our
great.
fears were externalized.
Yay.
I
Crack
remember when
cocaine and AIDS.
when I was a kid, we went to Disney World and my parents put a note on the stroller when we went on rides that just said AIDS on it. So no one would steal it.
Wow.
Oh my God, I need to meet your parents.
Wow.
It was it was a different time.
It was a different time. Oh my God.
Well, I love this tangent. Speaking of leaving strollers on rides and rides themselves, did you actually ever did you ever rescue anybody on
On
your
the carousel.
in your carousel days, or did
Oh,
that go
on the-
pretty smoothly?
On the carousel, okay, yeah, well, kind of. So I would say I rescued a lot of people from the boring ass day that they were having in the woods, like
Yeah.
looking at fucking like crickets or whatever.
Yeah.
But then occasionally, yeah, we'd have like a kid freak out on the carousel, and I'd have to kind of spring into action and reach 3 feet and like hit the switch to turn off the carousel.
Hero. Excuse us for a minute. Our sponsors have something they'd like to say to you. You know what I bet our listeners are thinking right now?
What's that, Bieber?
They're probably thinking, this podcast thing is so easy. I could start my own podcast. And you know what? They're right.
Yeah, we've been using Anchor for a few months now, and it has totally changed our game. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain.
It's free!
I said, let me explain.
Fine.
There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much anywhere podcasts are streamed. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. I mean, it's everything you need to make a podcast, all in one place.
And it's free!
Yes. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's enough of them. Now back to us.
Did they used to have seatbelts on the carousel? Because they do now. Like some of them have seatbelts and the kids have to be strapped in.
This one, I don't think it did because this was like the 90s.
Yeah. And let's face it, it's stupid now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, but that's not the only sort of carny job Brian's done.
No.
He also worked with animatronic dinosaurs.
Yeah.
What the hell?
He was he worked at Jurassic Park.
I worked at Jurassic Park too, guys.
Yeah. I did. It was crazy when I was like 16 or 17. And over the summer, I think this was right around the time The Lost World came out. This was a totally unaffiliated traveling animatronic dinosaur exhibit that somebody put together.
Yeah, they have that today.
Oh yeah, we went this year.
Yeah.
Well, what?
There's a traveling animatronic dinosaur touring thing.
Yeah. Jurassic Quest.
That you went to? No
this
shit.
year. Yeah.
What?
And because of COVID, they turned it into a drive-through event at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, at the parking lots.
I wonder if that's what I worked at like back in the day, like if it was the same company or something.
I do too.
Would not these dinosaurs have definitely seen better days.
One of them looks like the what is it, Dino from Flintstones? And I was like, wow, that's not in good shape.
No.
Poor Dino. Yeah, it's some crazy stuff.
So you don't know what company, you don't remember exactly what company you were at.
No, I don't. It was it was at the mall. So it was right across from like an au bon pain. And so you could get yourself a nice Danish or something and a coffee. And then go pay $5 to go do this like kind of like circuit through like what used to be a Lane Bryant, I think, and look at animatronic dinosaurs. So I got to be the cool kid working at the mall and going to the one dine arcade after work, or going to like play hacky sack on the loading dock.
Cool kid.
Yeah, I was pretty cool. Like, I had like the tie-dye bucket hat and everything, and like the hemp necklaces and
So but let's back up for a second. So you made a film while you were still back east and you were young. When did you in school, because you have a real job at, you're a leading complaint investigator for genomics company. Why did I say that weird? I don't know. Did I say that word?
It's Genomics.
But Gabagool, listen. But at some point you decided also that, you're very animated. You love the arts. Like you bring a different voice to it, which is amazing and beautiful and needed. So you're definitely in the genre, but you love writing and you have such passion for it. So at what point did you say, I'm going to get a real job and then I'm going to do this stuff on the side? Versus how did that end up going for you?
Well, I got into genomics strictly because I wanted to fucking make Ninja Turtles. So
sure. That sounds
like one definitely follows the other, but no, it's one of those things where I've always loved writing, even as a kid. I got in a lot of trouble in third grade because me and my friends kept writing these stories about us being attacked by monsters, and we got in trouble because we kept killing each other off in our stories, and our teacher got really mad at us.
This is happening to my son right now in first grade.
What?
I want to show you some of his drawings to his comic books.
Yeah.
It's like murdered pumpkins with blood coming out of them.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's pretty
Yeah.
cool. His teacher is telling him like, you can't say that stuff. And I'm like, that's censorship.
Yep.
Don't let the man keep you down, Jack.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay, keep going.
It's
This
funny,
is the
but-
Brian show.
yeah.
though.
So anyway, I always loved stories. I love comics. I love movies. I love books. I always wanted to write, and I majored in English in college, and then getting out of college, I'm like, okay, well, I need a quote unquote real job, right? I need to pay the fucking bills. And when I moved to California, I didn't do it as going like, oh, I'm going to make it big in Hollywood. I was like, that's not realistic. I'm going to move to California so I can live at the beach and be a burnout. And that's going to be awesome. And so I did that for a couple of years, but I also kind of I like money. And so I got a big boy job at the same time and kind of started working my way up. And just kind of hey, weekends are for partying and weekdays are for hustling and making that money,
Yeah.
And
You're
so
a living mullet.
yeah, exactly. So I did pretty well. I did pretty well with the company I work for, and but I don't know, about 2015 or so, 2016, I was like, you know what, this is cool and all, but I'm not writing, I'm not creating anything, and I'm going to work for the rest of my life for this company. I'm going to do really well. I'm going to have a very comfortable life. I'm going to have the house I want, yada yada, whatever. But no one's going to remember me when I'm gone. And that's what really kind of motivated me to get back into to take writing more seriously and take creating things more seriously and get my work out in the world.
I actually think Brian's onto something here.
Clearly.
I honestly believe, well, I always say now that people shouldn't go to school for theater, get it as a minor.
Oh my God, you sound like my mother.
No, but get it as a minor. No, you have to do the art. You have to take classes. So get it as a minor or on the side, but you should be taking marketing classes and taking classes that are going to guarantee you work and be able to launch yourself when your career does start to happen. How to treat it as a business, not an art. Right. And I'm thinking that that's kind of what you've done this whole time, is you've sort of treated your art as a business. You've done very well,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Second.
That actually is how I look at it. I think the business aspect is underrated. I think artists in general, get a little prickly whenever someone brings up business, brings up money, things like that. But I'm
brings up how much they
at the end of the day, you want your art to get in front of people, right? And so you have to manage that, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're like, oh, I don't give a fuck about money, blah blah blah. Well, okay, take the money equation out of it, and money is just a proxy for people looking at your thing, right? So, and you want people to look at your thing. So yeah, I for me, this was the right path, because when I was in my early 20s, I got out here and I was like, oh, I really want to be a writer. And I'm like, well, there's no way to make money at that right now. So and at the same time though, I felt like when I started more seriously, in my mid 30s, I had way more to say because I had so much more experience. I had perspective. Not to say that you can't write the great American novel at 21 or something. And I know people who are in their kind of mid 20s who are putting out amazing work, but I think for most of us, the sweet spot for writing, say, a novel is 35 to 40 to really start with a successful one,
Yeah.
Yeah. What they tell you with screenplays is your first 10 are going to be garbage. And, you got to get them, you just got to get them out of the way. Now, that may very well be true, but I think a lot of that is when you start. If you start in your 20s and you write 10 screenplays, you're probably going to be around your mid 30s
when you write that good one.
When you get to number 11 and they start getting good.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I've always thought that's a useful kind of rule of thumb rather than an ironclad law.
Yeah.
They say the same thing when it comes to prose too, that your first, write 10 novels and then throw them out and then start over, and that 11th one is going to be the novel that is quote unquote worth reading. I don't think that's always true. I think everything's a learning experience, and that, some people can write that very first novel they've ever written and it's great. But what that advice is, it really just means practice, you know?
Right.
And that's what it really means. So
Right. They always say it's an overnight success. I mean, in Hollywood, people think that all of a sudden there's this new person on the scene and they're like overnight success. And it's like, oh no, they've already written 10 screenplays or they've already done 20 years of theater or classes and web series and free shit. And like, you know, no, nobody's really an overnight success. Oh, that's not true. There are TikTokers that are overnight successes, I guess, but that's a different thing. That's content. We're talking about, we're not talking content. We're actually talking art and, you know, the stuff that you really put a lot of work behind, not to diminish anybody on TikTok. Oh my God. TikTok.
Right. I completely agree. The overnight success thing is just so reductive. And what it really means is the person saying, oh, they're an overnight success. It just means, oh, I haven't heard of them before.
Right. Yeah.
You know, that's all that it means.
but it's also a marketing ploy because celebrity is a fantasy and success is a fantasy that is sold.
Yeah.
And when you tell people that somebody is an overnight success, you plant in your viewer, in your audience's mind, the idea that that is possible, that I could achieve greatness without having to work for a long time or without having to work very hard, which I haven't done. So therefore, it's possible that I could achieve this.
Right.
That their success is within my grasp because it can happen overnight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, speaking of overnight success, I want to talk about one of Brian's other jobs. I don't know if it was Brian who told this.
I still want to talk about being paid to show my thing.
Okay, first, let me talk. Hang on. Or if it was like Todd Goldberg who may have brought this up, but I want to talk about Tgi Fridays.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of overnight successes, because
Speaking about showing your thing.
Yes, I believe Tgi Fridays started as a singles mingling restaurant bar. Am I remembering this correctly?
Yeah, 1969 in New York, it started as a hot happening singles spot.
Huh.
So what the fuck happened, right?
What the fuck? It's a family restaurant, people. And like the owner built it. No, the owner built it to like meet women or something. Like
that sounds about right. Yeah.
This is true.
Which is honestly, that's why guys open bars to begin with. Like, let's get real.
Oh yeah, naturally.
That's why chicks open bars, I'm sure too.
I mean, that's why anyone does anything, to be honest with you. We're all motivated by mating.
I mean, I only do this podcast because I want my husband to think I'm still smart and witty.
It's working.
Yep.
Motivated by mating, by the way, that is the name of the next podcast.
Motivated by mating. That is so good. I'm writing it down. Motivated by mating. No, but seriously. All right. Did you work at Tgi Fridays out here? Because I know.
No, back in Virginia. I worked there the summer of 2000.
Okay.
Or 2001. No, the summer of 2001. So right before 9/11.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. Okay.
Yeah. Were you still there on 9/11?
I was. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I wasn't at the restaurant, though. I was across the street at Logan's Roadhouse during 9/11.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. We were drinking.
I was supposed to, I was working the auto shows during 9/11 and I was supposed to be moving to California and I I'd had an interview with NBC at Rockefeller Center in New York 2 months prior or a month prior, something, just a little while before. And I'd gotten the second interview. So I was really excited to go. I was figuring it out, how I was going to manage and find a place to live in New York with $0 in my bank account. But I booked the auto shows, so that would make me some money because I would travel on weekends I wasn't working. And 9/11 happened, and I was like, well, my mom's like, you're not going to New York. And I was like, not going to New York. And then auto show people call and they're like, you're not going on a show. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going on a show. It was really, I mean, that was the least of the world's problems.
Yeah, Jamie had a real bad year that year for 9/11. Was hard.
Listen, I'm aware, but like, it just shut everybody's, like, you had to, my point in saying it is like, it was a pivotal moment of like being 21, 22. And like, all of a sudden the world, you're graduating and the world is shutting down because this thing happened. And it's like, you're reinventing yourself in your mind going, wow, this could be it. This could be it. I became an adult. I went to college and now the world is going to die.
Right.
Well, that's kind of happening again now.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
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 But if there's anything that 9/11 can, teach the kids today, is that life does go on, and it is shifted and altered from the trajectories that we were on before, but it does continue.
Yeah. So you were working at Tgi Fridays. You were living in Virginia. Were you in college? Then I would assume you're in beginning of college.
I was in college. It was I think my junior year of college or so.
Okay.
So I was working my way through college, working at Tgi Fridays, and I only worked there for about 4 months. But I get the job, and my second or third day, the general manager literally calls me into her office and goes, "You're going to need to wear more flair."
Oh my God, no!
Yeah.
I thought that was made up in Office Space. Oh my God!
She pulled out and she pulled out a Ziploc bag full of flair and pulled out 4 buttons and was like, "Here, put these on."
So for kids who are listening that are under the age of Office Space and have never watched the cult classic Office Space, flair are buttons that go on the suspenders and shirts of the waitresses and the bus boys and all the people who work at Tgi Fridays, essentially.
Yep.
Yeah. It's externalized enthusiasm.
Yep. Yeah, and they all say things like, "Oh, I'm not in Kansas anymore," or something like that, and
wow.
I love the idea that that she pulls out a Ziploc bag of used flair, like that she, I imagine it's gathered from corpses.
The thing is, I know Brian. You guys know him as this outgoing person on this podcast right now, but I can't imagine Brian interacting with people at tables wearing a bunch of buttons and going, "How can I serve you tonight?"
Hey, would you like some extreme fajitas?
It's just not.
Well, my favorite's the mudslide.
Oh, the loaded potatoes, skins.
Yeah, the potato skins.
Oh, I dated a boy from New York, and he works here in Hollywood. He is
It's me.
No, it's not you.
Yeah.
He's a Long Island guy. He's in craft service. He runs a craft service truck. And he, on the weekends, always wanted to go to Tgi Fridays because I think that's a New York, Long Island thing, chain restaurants. He was always Claim Jumper or Tgi Fridays. And I was like, I can't be in this relationship. This isn't going to work for me.
Yeah.
It was a lot. I'm breaking up with you. That's pretty much how it went. It's sad.
Oh
I'd like, you know what? Do you have a Tgi Fridays story or 10 that you can just dump on me real quick?
Oh my God, there's so many. Well, God. Okay, so it's been a couple years since I've actually even thought about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did get fired from there for sleeping through my shift 2 weekends in a row.
Were you at the restaurant when you slept through your shift?
No, I was at my house, but they were.
All I can say is from my days at Pasquale's, I worked at Pasquale's as a hostess. I was not good at waiting tables. They were like, "We're just going to keep you at the hostess stand." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, carrying menus is more your speed, right?
Yeah, they were like, "Here's I was I was in college. I was home for the summer. They were so generous to give me a job when most of the people that worked there were, full-time year round. But they gave me one tray with 8 waters on it and the whole tray just went over. And they were like, "We're going to keep you on the hostess stand." It was very sweet of them. It was probably because I was a very young looking, cute blonde girl, so they were they'd tip me. They'd all give me tips. And I was like, you don't have to, I'm just working the hostess stand, but everybody would always give me a tip and stuff. It was really sweet. Everybody was nice. So I don't really have I didn't work at a chain restaurant. Oh, I did. Oh, how could I forget that?
You worked at McDonald's.
Yeah, but is that a restaurant?
Technically,
it's a restaurant. Yeah.
I worked at
people
Blues.
Eat it.
I worked here at the Blues.
The House of Blues.
The House of Blue. No, BB.
Oh.
No,
BB King's.
BB King's House of Blues.
Mm.
Not House of Blues, just BB King's.
Just BB King's, whatever. At Universal City Walk, and I had gone to bartending classes. So I had applied for a bartending gig there, and they were like, "Well, we start everybody off at the hostess stand." And I was like, "Okay." And I said, "That's fine."
We call that the Widowmaker.
Uh-huh. And I was like, "But I am an actor." They're like, "You and everybody else." And I was like, "Right." So whatever, hours, whatever. I booked a film shooting in Chicago and Detroit. So I told them and I gave them 2 weeks notice of it. And they said I'd have a job when I came back. When I left, they called me. They knew I'd be in Detroit and Chicago and left me a message that I was fired.
That's such a fucking dick move.
Dude, it's such like, I mean, what are you breaking up with me?
It's a shame.
Could they text
No, I'm
you?
breaking up with you.
Yeah. And I called back and I was like, but you said my job would be there when I got back. And she's like, I just don't like you very much. Like this girl just did not like me very much. And she said, I just don't like you very much. And I was like, well, I think you're kind of a bitch. And she's like, well, that's why I don't like you, because I know that you think that. And I was like, okay, fine. And that was it. It was really super straightforward. And I respect her for that. Like, you're right. I don't like you very much. Can we talk about the story where he had a stalker at work who was trying to get him fired? You might not be able to tell that story.
A stalker?
I had a stalker at work.
Not stalking, but you were going to get a private eye to investigate her because this girl was like trying to get you fired.
Is this a Geno's Nomics?
Is it Genonomics?
Matt, it's funny because there have been so many people who've tried to get me fired over the years that I couldn't remember who you were talking about.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And I'm still here, bitches.
Let's take a quick break.
Let's get back to the show.
Yeah, I actually had someone the other day who emailed like in like a mass email, they had like spelled my name wrong. Because people frequently like will spell my name as Brain, not Brian, because it's really easy to fat finger.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
And
so my emails, Jay's no.
Yeah. This person emails me back like privately and was just like, hey, I'm so sorry for getting your name wrong. And I just saw that and thought to myself, well, now are you going to apologize for trying to get me fired a year and a half ago?
Oh my God. What is wrong with people?
Yeah, I've had multiple incidents in the last couple years, like over my career, but just the last couple years where like, I guess I have a punchable face or something, but you know, I had one person who like straight up fabricated all these allegations and went to my manager with them. Like just like severe ethics violations that would have gotten me not only fired, but debarred by the FDA.
Wow.
Basically, and they were all bullshit. And I had all the receipts.
Right.
And you know, so my manager just kind of like laughed it off. He was like, well, I don't know what her deal is, but she does not like you. And I'm like,
So 3 rapid fire questions. 1, were there any penalties for her? Because obviously that is an ethics violation. 2, debarred. Did you have to pass the bar for the FDA? And 3, what credential, like what are you doing that the FDA is governing your specific work?
Oh, okay. So those are all good questions. So no, 1, there were no repercussions for her whatsoever. There maybe there could have been if I had forced the issue, but it was enough to have her look ridiculous to everyone who mattered.
Yeah.
So as far as debarment goes, the field I work in is the medical device field, and so that's regulated by the FDA. And so so essentially they maintain a debarment list of people who are not legally allowed to work within the medical device field anymore because they done fucked up so bad.
Got it.
So it's actually, they maintain a list on the FDA website of like people who've had these like ethical violations. A lot of it is, you know, some random guy starts fucking selling pacemakers out of his garage. And then the FDA is like, hey, by the way, you have to submit a whole bunch of paperwork to us about that. And he's like, no. And, you know, and it kind of goes from there. But it's a lot of time it's like kind of black market stuff going on.
Wow.
But
would you say it's on the dark web? Can I go to the dark web and find this?
Let's put it this way. If you're buying medical stuff off the dark web or selling it on the dark web, you probably should be disbarred.
Let me put it this way. Jason's dad owned a medical device company.
Yes.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
the now defunct Lunoscope Corporation.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah,
interesting. Lunoscope. What did he make?
We went up against if you know, like Omron or that was the big competitor. But yeah, they made stethoscopes and like pain equipment, TENS machines, massagers, a lot of things that could be confused with masturbatory devices.
Yeah. There's a fine line between getting well and getting off.
Okay. So did he answer all three or did he answer two?
I don't understand what genomics is, and I want you to explain it to me.
explain what
like
genomics
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so the company I work for does DNA sequencing. So essentially, we build machines that read DNA. We have about 90% of the worldwide DNA sequencing market.
Oh,
So whenever you hear about DNA testing being done,
Mhm.
it's frequently done on our equipment.
So you're a lead complaint investigator. What does you're like the PI of these machines? Like someone's
Yep.
like, this isn't you just
What are some complaints you get?
Can you even talk about that?
So that would all be confidential, but
Yeah.
I can say essentially whenever there are issues with our machines in the field, we have our tech support group that deals directly with the customers
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
just resolves the issues. But then when there's a trend of stuff going on, they'll
Yeah.
escalate it to our group, and so our group will pull together a group of people to kind of figure out what's going on and kind of shore things up. I mean, these are super complex cutting edge instruments.
Yeah.
And so basically, and our customers like to push performance and do different applications and stuff. So it's, stuff happens sometimes, basically.
So what I want listeners to understand is this is a guy with a degree in English that came out to be a beach bum, got a job with a massive corporation in the field of science and biology.
Mhm.
And this is where we're at. And he sells books on the side.
What I want people to take away from this is that when he was 16, he worked in an offshoot company that was mimicking a movie that was based in the idea of genetic splicing, only to find himself full circle. Now troubleshooting when genetics go wrong.
Yeah.
When genetic equipment goes wrong.
So
you really can't get away from this field.
You can't. And it explains a lot about you.
Yeah. You could say it's kind of baked into my DNA.
I know you're not for liberty to discuss any specifics, but how close are we to bringing back the dinosaurs?
Ooh, not close at all.
Damn it.
So woolly mammoths are possible, right?
Wow.
But actually, we could probably, so we're not that far off from creating synthetic animals that could mimic certain characteristics of dinosaurs. But as far as actually resurrecting like a triceratops or something like that, that's not really possible because DNA degrades over time. So when you look, with Jurassic Park or something like that, there's not 65 million year old DNA floating around anywhere.
Right.
It's not actually DNA. It's, there's stuff, but there's no DNA. There's no living DNA. Is that the way you would describe it?
Yeah. I mean, it's just nothing that we could use to recreate a dinosaur basically. And, the reason why we think bringing back woolly mammoths is possible is because elephants are closely related enough that we could, genetically engineer an embryo and then implant it into like a living elephant's uterus. Right.
Or aren't they going to do that with the frogs in Jurassic Park? Just put the DNA in a frog's butt or something?
Yeah, something like that. I don't.
There was a frog's butt.
I can't remember the exact with the bliggity blow and then the blah 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 blah.
Right.
But I don't know. I just really want to create anything, whether it's a dinosaur or a woolly mammoth or whatever that spits acid. That's what I really want to do with my career. So. Yeah. That's kind of my goal.
We did learn on our Jurassic Quest ride that that's not real.
Yeah. Oh, the spitting acid thing?
That specific animal, that specific dinosaur did not spit acid.
Yeah. Well, but who knows?
That specific one didn't, but
other ones may. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't even found all the dinosaurs yet. There's shitloads of dinosaurs that we have no idea that they existed.
How does your company feel about your side hustle as a writer? I'm calling that the side hustle right now because you're really invested and entrenched in this company. And would you ever leave and do, horror script writing full time at this point or novel writing full time? Are you getting to the point where you ever think, oh, you know what? I'm making a sufficient income and I could pursue this full time?
Ooh, those are good questions. So to your first question, no, my company isn't actually aware that I do any of this. I probably shouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Got it.
No, just kidding. No, no. I've literally like had like my books up at my cubicle, and
Yeah.
people have bought books from me and things like that.
Nice.
My company gave me a 3-month sabbatical so that I could work on a particular novel that I wanted to work
Oh,
on.
that's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've been super awesome and supportive, and with the educational benefits that helped me get my MFA from UCR Palm Desert.
Yeah. Which
was pretty awesome. So yeah, it's great. It's nice to be able to just have two completely different things that I'm working on. It really helps me shift gears sometimes, so having a day job that's kind of a little more technical and like a little more just kind of like science communication, and then going home and getting to like just kind of let loose with my imagination, basically. I don't know, it's just two different kinds of brain power involved, so it certainly helps. As far as whether I'd ever go full-time with writing, it's maybe.
How many dollars? How much do we need to pay you?
It's not
to
it's
leave
not really
Geno's.
okay, so it's not really it's honestly not really a money thing.
Yeah.
For me, it's more of a it's more just like a motivation thing.
Yeah.
So I find working a day job to be very motivating for my writing.
I agree.
It energizes me in a certain way. And so I just worry that if I went full-time with writing, like day one of being a full-time writer, I'd like sit down and go, okay, I'm out of ideas. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be in my cubicle right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Although, I mean, I did take that 3-month sabbatical and was able to treat writing like a job then. So I don't know. I think I could do it, but I don't know. Honestly, even if I quit my current job and tried to go full time with writing, I'd probably pick up like 20 hours a week at like, I don't know, like Trader Joe's or something, just to have somewhere to go to get me out of the house and do something different.
Get a kid.
It's aisle 4 at Trader Joe's.
Thank you,
Trader Joe's aisle 4.
Yeah.
Next to Charlie the Bear.
I want to ask you this. When you're from any of your jobs or all of your jobs, are there any that you find the work you're doing outside of writing is finding its way into your writing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question.
Thanks.
Yes. So yes, 100% yes. I've written scenes of characters working in chain restaurants like Tgi Fridays. I'm trying to think. I think I had like a tossed off line once about a character working at a dinosaur exhibit, actually. So I brought in stuff like that. I actually had okay, this is one thing I probably shouldn't talk about, but I'm going to anyway.
Yeah.
But a number of years ago, I had a really horrifically bad manager. I'm not gonna say what job it was at,
No, it's okay.
but this I actually filed harassment charges against her because she was that bad. Like she trapped me in a conference room once and wouldn't let me leave, which is textbook harassment, and then admitted
This was sexual
to it.
harassment.
It was physical. It was like more like threatening, like physical threatening. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so she was a fairly, I don't know, I probably shouldn't say too much about her specifically, but she did inspire a character in a book I wrote.
I mean, how could she not?
Yeah, this is a trunk novel. It's like the very first one I wrote, so I don't think it'll ever see the light of day. But there was a character based on her in the book that I just kind of like really let her have it with it. I turned her into this like nefarious person with like the mind of like Ralph Wiggum, basically. It's like just every single sentence, it's like, this is the dumbest fucking person on the face of the planet, like, and then they get offed in the book. So yeah, I've definitely brought some specific things from my jobs into my work. One thing that's kind of always been on my mind is just really cynically leveraging my job by writing a techno thriller, because they're from a marketing aspect, there's a huge marketing tie-in aspect of me working in genomics. And so I don't know, that's kind of on my list of, potential projects in the future as well.
Yeah.
When you decide to go full-blown Michael Crichton.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because, it's like I do have kind of like my agent and I have talked about this, how, I kind of do have a credential. that she could use to like, entice publishing companies. So
Mhm. So you went up to the Pacific Northwest where we know all horror happens. All horror happens. All serial killers are there. So it makes sense to
Yep.
film there. So tell us a little bit about that and how much you enjoyed it. And is this a pursuit that you're, if you become a full-time horror film producer, you're going to have to leave your job. But
yeah,
you tell me.
But that would
Yeah,
be another job.
That would
yeah,
be another
exactly.
job.
But then
Yeah.
writing prose would be my side gig
would
from
still be
there,
your side
so
gig,
that
yeah.
could work.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was kind of interesting how this one came about. So I actually have two short films and one feature in production right now,
Oh,
or
wow.
production or post-production right now.
That's what I thought. I felt like I was like, this can't all be the same thing. What's happening?
Yeah, so it's kind of, I don't talk a lot about the stuff right now on social media. So like
Yeah.
a lot of people are kind of reading the tea leaves of like pictures I've posted or stuff I've said. But I have essentially 3 different projects I'm working on right now.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank
I'm
you.
so happy.
One of them is actually shooting right now as we speak in Oregon. I've been doing a
cool.
lot of stuff in Oregon just because there's a really cool film scene there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of very, very, very talented people
Yeah.
who are also, but they also have a very DIY punk rock ethic. So it's
What are
cool
they-
just getting a bunch of people together and like, oh, let's just get the shit done. And they're very inventive and budget
What's
conscious.
it called? Guerrilla shoots.
Mm-hmm.
That's big.
Yeah.
Big up there. Guerrilla shoots.
Yeah. So so the 3 projects. So the first one I'm working on, I'm just an executive producer on it and also have a small role in it. But it was written and directed by John Skip, who hit the New York Times bestseller list back in the 80s with A Light at the End. And
Nice.
he has been kind of a pretty big icon within the horror world. He had a couple of recent things he's done. He wrote an episode of Creep Show in the first season, and he had a segment in Tales of Halloween,
Nice.
the anthology film. So I know him because I actually was taking writing classes with him a couple years ago, and we became friends. And so he was talking about this film that he wants to make, and I was like, okay, well, I'm kind of doing some film stuff right now. Let's make this short film version of it and then try and use that to attract additional investment.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. I think it's going to be hitting the film festival circuit next year, but it's essentially about some scary things happening in a karaoke bar. And it's super fun because Skip
Right.
wrote all these original songs for it that
Wow.
they all sound like actual karaoke songs.
Yeah.
Like there's one kind of like, there's a very like John Mellencamp-y one that's like a perfect John Mellencamp. There's kind of like a alt country type deal. Like there's a bunch of different stuff.
That's great.
Like a wide range. I'm like singing a reggae song in it.
I just love that you're able to do the entire thing rights free.
Yeah. That was smart.
It's really
and talented.
impressive.
Yeah.
It opens with like a montage of all these people singing different karaoke songs, and it's super fun.
God, I'm so claustrophobic. I'm just like worried that they're all going to be stuck there having to sing. And if I got stuck in a karaoke bar having to sing the rest of my life just to get out of everything, I can't sing. Yeah, I just went my own direction with it.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
and then you're working on 2 others. That
2
you're
others,
producing?
yes. Yeah. So the other short film is an adaptation of a comic book that I did in Tales of Horrorgasm number 5. It's kind of like a Bendy and the Ink Machine type thing. It's like a lost animated film from the 30s, and spooky things happen when you watch it. So it's kind of like The Ring.
So it's an animated?
It's half animated.
Wow.
So there's a live action wraparound
Okay.
with these 2 characters who find a clip from the animated film, and they're daring each other to watch it because it's supposed to be haunted.
Right.
But then for about 4 minutes or so of the film, it goes right into the animated world.
I love it.
And so my friend Dustin Mills did the animation, and he was doing he does like 3D animation, but he's so freaking good. He was able to do a computer generated animation that looks just like old, like 20s, 30s black and white cartoons.
That's fantastic. And now you're starting a 3rd one?
Right. And so then there's also a feature that's filming right now. So essentially what happened there was I had a small role in a movie called Mutant Vampires from the Planet Neptune, which is coming out I think next year. They should be announcing that pretty soon. But so I met some really cool people doing that, and the director of that was like, hey, I have this other like kind of like old school Vincent Price haunted house type story that that we're doing. Do you want to kind of take a look at that script? So I was like, sure. So I ended up coming on board that as executive producer and co-writer. So yeah, and that is filming literally right now. It stars, among others, Eileen Dietz, who played Pazuzu in The Exorcist.
That's crazy.
So
That's so fun.
Awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. Brian has a book out right now, brand new book that you can order. We're going to put the link up. It is Man, Fuck This House. It is so good. So we're going to send everybody.
Not to be confused with Man, Fuck This House.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine Brian saying it. And for me, it's Man, Fuck This House. Am I saying it wrong?
Fuck this house.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is.
There it is. Brian, you were awesome. This was so great. And I just love your point of view on just about everything, you know. I think that you've done everything right. And I agree. I feel like I need to go back to my corporate job just to be a better writer sometimes.
Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Right. Thank you both for having me. It was so much fun.
She showed on Monday, made love on Tuesday, on Wednesday she was down. We fought on Thursday, made up on Friday, but now I'm losing ground. You call me lazy, you think I'm crazy, so why'd you call me?